La. Are you voicing your saxophone properly? Welcome to the Saxophone Oracle. Today we're talking about voicing on our saxophones. So this is not about how we create a chord. I'm talking about how we manipulate or control our throats, our tongue position, our air direction in order to produce the desired note on the instrument in tune with a beautiful sound. In some ways, playing our saxophone, it's just like singing. So if you put your hand here on your throat and we'll sing something. Oh, 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 whatever it is. I mean, you'll notice in here there's slight changes happening in your vocal cords, in your throat. There's movements happening. So it's the same thing on our saxophone. Every time we play a note or change notes, we're manipulating our throats in a certain way to produce the note the way we want it to come out, to hear it and to play it in tune. Here's a way you can test this out yourself. This weekend I was playing with my 4-year-old daughter and she wanted daddy to play some saxophone for her. So I was playing for her and then she wanted to push some notes. So get a friend, and this is what my daughter did. I just held down a G with my left hand and I let her play with the lower keys. So I blowed a nice strong G, and then I didn't know what she was going to push. So she would sometimes push an F, sometimes she'd put an F sharp, sometimes she'd put 2 keys, sometimes she'd put, just the C button down. But I didn't know. And so if she would push an F, that's where I felt instantly like, wow, I do make quite a dramatic adjustment when I just change a tone like that, or an F sharp, a semitone. So I was voicing a G. My little girl pushed the F, and whoa, it was like destabilizing until I found it. Okay, cool. So try that with a friend. That'll immediately show you what voicing is, how much of a change we actually have to make in our throats and in our tongue position. I want you to be aware of voicing. A lot of people don't really know about it, especially beginners. So a beginner will often, there are certain notes on saxophone that are inherently a little funky, like the middle D is stuffy. That can be addressed a lot with how you voice it. A lot of beginners have a hard time getting that note, just playing with the octave key and getting it to speak. The G, just on top of the staff, that one's notorious for beginners to not be able to hit it. It cracks or they produce something else. When we squeak or honk, that's usually a voicing issue, right? Where our throats aren't set up for the note we're trying to play, so we play a note that's too high. Altissimo notes, that's all voicing. Yes, there are fingers that help it, but it's all about setting up our throats to produce those notes. So it's something to be aware of. Are you experiencing this where you're missing a note, you're cracking, you can't hit that note all the time, or you can slur to it, but when you actually have to attack it, it doesn't come out, it honks, it squeaks? Well, first, yes, is your horn in good shape? Okay, is it leaking? No, hopefully not. Do you have correct embouchure? Hopefully yes, or in the ballpark. The big one is air support. Are you supporting your air properly? Because that's gonna save you a lot of problems. So make sure you're supporting your air. I've made a video about that. Please check it out. I think it's very helpful. But if you're doing all these things, embouchure, your horn's in good shape, you're breathing properly, then the issue is most likely voicing. So let's pay attention to that and let's talk about how we can work on that. Teaching voicing is really difficult because I can't see into your throat, I can't see into my throat, I can't express to you what I'm doing exactly to get a note. But there are things that we can practice that I'm going to show you that we can practice to help us with this. So I already mentioned being aware of it. A good time to be aware of this, again, is if you're practicing long tones, you're sustaining a note, you're going to experiment, see how things change, what makes it sound better, what makes it sound worse. There's overtone exercises. Those are all about voicing. There are embouchure adjustments to be made and airflow, but it's really all about how we set up to produce the different partials. So that's a really great exercise and a main reason for doing overtone exercises. If you're not familiar with overtone exercises, I'll demonstrate it briefly, but I have a whole other video talking about overtone exercises. And the main thing that I would suggest to help with voicing is playing your mouthpiece without the saxophone. You're going to sound like a duck. It's not a pleasant sound, but you'd be surprised the range of notes you can achieve. You could probably get at least a major scale and see if you can play a major scale, see if you can play a minor scale, see if you can play melodies just on the mouthpiece with the mouthpiece and the reed in your ligature. And there you're going to see the dramatic difference it makes in our throat position, and learn to get, by playing melodies and scales, and that's going to teach you how to control this, and it's going to help you control the voicing when you're actually playing the saxophone for itself. Over time, it's going to become easier, it's going to become natural. You're not even going to think about it unless you do, like I said, have a friend come and finger a different note that you weren't expecting. I mentioned paying attention to this with long tones. So I'm going to play a middle B, and I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to make some adjustments here, and you can see what happens. So without changing my embouchure, or just playing with my throat, I went down chromatically a whole tone. Ba. It's pretty dramatic. So if you're setting up your throat to play a tone lower, it's not going to sound great, and you're probably going to crack. If you're setting up your throat to play a low G down here and trying to get the top one to speak, you're going to get that. So we need to set up our throat correctly. There's adjustments there in that octave. I'm doing quite a bit of adjusting here in my throat to play the same note an octave higher. So just experiment with that. See if you can, and see if you can control it too. Not just bring down the pitch and bring up the pitch, but can you do it controlled, a semitone lower. If you go up and play in the palm keys, you could probably do it a minor third. So it's a little more easier the higher you are on the horn to manipulate the pitch down. So that's one thing you can do. Now, overtones. As I mentioned, overtones, for those if you don't know, here's the brief explanation. You're going to play the fundamental note, so a low B flat, for example, on the saxophone, without changing the fingerings, but by changing the direction of your air, speed of your air, how you set up your throat, you're going to be able to play the other harmonics above it. So you should be able to play B flat, F, B flat 2 octaves above, D, F, A flat. It goes on and on. Here's a brief demonstration. So I didn't change the fingering from low B flat, but I'm changing all what's happening in here. Slight embouchure adjustment, but it's all about that. So do our overtone exercises. So that time I produced them in different orders. So demonstrating that you're able to control all this happening in your throat, how you're voicing the notes. So that's one thing that you can work on. Super helpful to get you voicing properly. Mouthpiece, reed, ligature. Have you tried practicing with just this, no saxophone? Sounds like a duck call, fine. But we can produce more than just one note. We can probably get a whole lot of a scale. So at least a whole major scale you can get. You can probably get a little bit more if you want to really work at it. And the way we're achieving it, we don't have any buttons to push, right? It's all with my throat position, my tongue position, my airflow. Voicing. That is voicing. So spend some time, 5 minutes a day, just playing with this and learning to control it. Can you play a major scale? Can you play a minor scale? Can you play a song? That's going to help you immensely in voicing your saxophone. You're going to be able to stop cracking those notes like high G, middle D. And yeah, it's a great little exercise. Maybe wear earplugs. Now, to recap, when we play our saxophone, we're not just pushing fingers to change notes. There's a lot of stuff happening in here. How to teach it, I don't know, but how to practice it, play your mouthpiece, play your overtone exercises, be aware of it, focus on it when you're doing your long tone exercises. Take notice of the little adjustments you make. If you're having a hard time reaching a certain note, when you do get it, take notice of how it feels when it's singing beautifully, and then try to produce that before you attack the note. Other things we can do: play intervals, octaves, something that you can easily hear. So play the low note, da. Think about it before you produce the next note. Da. When you sing, you hear it. It's the same thing on the saxophone. So an adjustment has to be made. And that's basically it. Be aware of it. Play your mouthpiece. Play your overtones. Do your long tones. It's going to help you immensely to voice the notes correctly. You're going to sound better. You're going to play more in tune. You're going to have more confidence. You're going to be able to play up in the stratosphere. It's going to help you in all kinds of ways, voicing your saxophone. That was voicing for saxophone. I am the Saxophone Oracle. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you've tried it, if you've practiced it, if you've put this into your routine, I'd like to hear about it. Has it helped you? Has it done nothing? Leave a comment. If you have any questions, send me an email or leave a comment about saxophone, about improvisation. I'd love to address it, hopefully in a future video. Again, if you found it helpful, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and happy, happy, happy practicing. Bye for now.